Hey Harmonizers, it's a big day. This is Elon's first ever ride or having a human on his back. So this is me working with Elon at his head there, and then Allie is the one doing the hopping around on his back. So at this point, I'm only just almost 3 weeks post baby, and still kind of taking it easy on myself. So I'm helping Allie on the ground aspect, but I'm not doing the jumping and hopping up and flopping around on his back and all that kind of stuff. So Allie's going to do some hopping first and just kind of putting his foot in the stirrup and wanting to try to get him used to all this kind of stuff. And we want to make sure he knows that if he's being good and he's standing still and being tolerant, that he's going to get cookies, which is super duper important. So here she kind of jumps up, and you can see he kind of moves a little bit. Just takes a couple steps, probably because it feels really awkward. And then I'm going to give him some cookies, which helps him understand that we're not trying to be mean to him. We're just trying to help him realize that he can have a good experience. And it also gets him chewing, which is good to help release tension and kind of keep him in a thinking frame of mind. You can see on the right side, he definitely gets a little bit more worried and he starts to kind of move around a little bit there. So it's important in that situation that Allie kind of sticks with it a little bit and make sure not to just stop and kind of let him think that it was scary and it was a good idea, that he was supposed to kind of flight away and run away. So instead she just kind of keeps going, toned it down a little bit, and then we're just kind of easing him into it, kind of hopping on the spot and then putting her foot in the stirrup and hopping a little bit. So his right side is not quite as confident as his left side. He's really pretty good and has learned a lot of stuff for sure, but that right side, sometimes things just take a little bit longer, have to repeat things just a little bit more. No big deal. So he ends up figuring it out there. She's up on the side of his back. He's going to get a few more cookies and get a chance to just kind of breathe and relax there with her up. And I'm practicing giving him cookies from both sides, making sure that he understands that there's a human that's going to be visible on both sides of his body. So we worked with that for a little bit. I'm just speeding up the footage here. We were trying to get him to take the cookie from Allie's hand so he understands that the person who's on his back can give him those treats and doesn't have to be the person that's leading at his head. So that's an important thing for him to have. And then Allie's going to do her little hopping and flop up again. And then I'm going to do some leading of him after he gets his cookie there. So Allie's giving him a cookie out of her hand. And that's important to make sure that he bends his head for relaxation. And then also to make sure that he sees Allie and knows, okay, like she started on my left side, but now she's there on my right side. And leading up to this point, he's done some other groundwork. He's done other work at the mounting block and to kind of prepare him for this moment. So we've done quite a few other little things with him to help make sure that he's kind of set up for success and ready for this next step. Allie's just kind of making sure the girth is nice and snug there. And this kind of thing that we're doing here is a little bit awkward because you're pulling on the saddle and you want to make sure you keep your weight kind of to one side of the horse to make sure that if they were to buck or react or something like that, that you're not going to go flying off head first in the other direction. But what we're doing is just kind of making sure he can handle that weight, and that if I'm leading him, that Allie's in a situation where she can easily push her body off to the side and not be kind of trapped on him. And so it's easier for her to bail off of him in that sense. She doesn't have to have legs on both sides of him. She can start with just being all on one side. So it makes it a little safer for the human. And then also I think sets things up really well, because if the horse can handle that kind of weight on one side and that kind of awkwardness, then when you actually get on the horse, it's usually no big deal. It's actually easier for them. They're like, oh, okay, this is more balanced and less awkward. But this is a good way to do those first couple steps. And you can see I'm pretty quick to give Elon his cookies there, just in case he thought that things might be scary or that he might want to ditch the rider because it's uncomfortable or awkward. I make sure that he knows that he's getting rewarded and there's no need to think bad thoughts because you're getting cookies. Everything's all good. I'm not holding the cookie literally in front of him, getting him to follow the cookie. He gets to kind of think about what she's doing and then I reward him. So here is now the first actual kind of ride where Allie is getting on him. She's already done a little bit more mounting block work to get to this point. And that is staff Emily that is holding on to Elon there and doing the leading portion. So Allie's already done a fair bit of just kind of sitting on him at the mounting block, giving him cookies, breathing. You can see Elon's pretty sure that he's going to get more cookies because that's what she's been working on, is just making sure it's a really good experience for him with the person sitting on his back. And then when they're ready, Emily is going to take him away from the mounting block and take him on his first steps of the actual kind of ride. And to start with, he's just going to be taking guidance from Emily from the ground. And this is kind of our favorite way to just kind of get things started off nicely. You can see when he walked off there, he kind of scooted his butt a little bit. So that was him kind of saying, ooh, this is different. This is weird. Like, you're following, you're coming with me. So it's important in that instance that we don't go too far before we stop and we reward. Otherwise, he might decide that it really is a scary thing or it really is an issue. Sometimes when you kind of ignore those little moments of, ooh, I don't know about this, sometimes it becomes worse. And sometimes if you keep the horse moving, it gets better. But you don't really want to chance that. So we just stop, reward, make sure they know that there's no reason to think bad thoughts, and then get walking in again and go a little bit further each time until the horse gets more and more relaxed. So the first steps, you can see the first little bit of walking, very kind of tucking his bum a little bit, really kind of awkward, not very flowy. And then the goal of this session really is just to find that little bit of relaxation. So she does a little bit more walking, a little bit of turning, and trying to just get him to be comfortable moving with Allie's weight on him. And he's doing a really good job. And you can see Allie's quite tall, and she does make him look quite short. He is, I believe when we measured him, he was around 13.2 hands or something like that. So we'll have to remeasure him, see if he's grown or if he's the same, anything like that. So here now, he's walking even better after just a little bit. I think the entire ride that she did, it was less than 10 minutes for sure. I know I cut a little bit of the footage out and kind of sped things up a little bit, but it was less than 10 minutes. It's probably somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes. And that's all we do in a first ride because we want to keep it short, sweet, positive. We want the horse thinking, this was pretty rewarding. And we're just looking for that little bit of relaxation while being ridden, so we don't need to do anything crazy intense or get too busy or too excited about what's going on. Sometimes, depending on the horse, we'll unclip them and we'll go for a ride not being clipped up. For him, we decided we're just taking things slower. Part of that's because of our summer camp schedule and our timing and stuff like that, and then part of it's because Mustangs can be interesting because they haven't been tamed for super long. So sometimes it's better to do the little sessions, have little progressions, and not ask for too much all in one day because you don't want to overwhelm them and put them in a position where they feel like they have to react and get overwhelmed. And this is already a huge accomplishment for him, doing this little bit of riding and walking around, and it's gonna progress really fast from here, just doing the work that we're doing and little bits every day. It's going to get better and better and better. So no need to rush on the first day. So you can see this is kind of towards the end of their ride here, just before they kind of wrap up and finish. He's walking much more smoothly, the rhythm much more even. So he's looking a lot more confident. And Allie has started to pick up the reins and pulled back on the reins to give that cue. So he's starting to take some more direction from on top of his back. So here she's asking him to back up a little bit using the reins. He goes a little bit sideways, which is not the end of the world. And then Emily's just helping him figure out the answer. And that's pretty much how we wrapped up his first riding session ever. So she's going to give him some scratches, some cookies, and we're pretty excited to see where we go from here.